Okay, so I mean, I've talked about this for a while. I guess it's time for me to just go ahead and make a post to broadcast about it. But about my thoughts on the so-called manosphere and the red pillars within it. Um, yeah, so let me address that with a story, a story that is relevant to the very title and thumbnail of this video. So let's get to it.
put some respect on my name. You understand me? When y'all
Y-
saying my name, put some respect on it.
Today there was rain in the mountains. What does that mean? What does that mean? Well, if you aren't familiar, um, I did talk about how I would be sharing a lot of the content, information, people that I meet and digest myself. And one of the things I've digested was that very quote itself is today there was rain in the mountains. It actually comes from a book by Heather Heying and Brett Weinstein, A Hunter-Gatherer's Guide to the 21st Century, Evolution and Challenges of Modern Life. Very, very good book, very informative, very descriptive. They go into good detail about what they're talking about. Um, so feel free to check that out. But what was it that this saying is about? Well, the very intro, the introduction of the video, that is, they pretty much tell a story about themselves. I think they were in Puerto Rico or somewhere down south, and they were young, and they were about to go for a swim in a lake. And as they were going for a swim in the lake, they noticed that one of the locals came out and he asked them a question or something. I'm paraphrasing here. But you can go listen for yourself. And essentially, he was asking them like, "Hey, what are you guys about to do?" I guess in the native tongue, I guess Spanish or whatever they spoke. And I guess they were able to understand what he was saying enough to where it's like, okay, he was asking them what they were about to do, and they were like, "Oh, we're just about to go for a swim," which is something they had done all summer long, right? It was a norm for them. It was something they just done regularly. Well, it was a shift in the weather that day. And the guy was like, "Well, today there was rain in the mountains." And they kind of looked at the guy and they were like, "Okay, but there's no rain here." So they were kind of wondering, like, what does that have to do with what we're doing right here? What is that? Like, we're about to go swim in a lake. Like, there was rain in the mountains, so what? And it didn't really dawn on them, but this guy, he was a local. He was familiar with the area, much more familiar than they are. And he was like, "Well, today there was rain in the mountains," and he was kinda being a bit like, he was, like, trying to he was getting more serious with it, and they kinda noticed, "Okay, what is this guy talking about? What about the rain in the mountains? What does that have to do with what we're doing?" So then I guess they were about to brush him off and then go swim, and he was like, "No, today there was raining there, but the mountains." And, they stopped and looked at him for one last time because I guess he got loud, and, they were like, "Well, what about the rain?" And then he said, Look at the water." So then as they turned, they saw like a little whirlpool or something. And one of the guys of the group was like, "Okay, that wasn't there before." And then he was like, "Look." And he pointed at the lake or something, right? And then they looked, and sure enough, out of nowhere, this big rush of water just came out of nowhere. It would have washed away anything that was on the beach that they were walking towards. Everything got sucked into the whirlpool and then popped up somewhere farther down the lake. Pretty much, if they had gone down there for a swim, they would have died, essentially. They would have died, and they didn't even know it. They didn't know the relevance of the rain in the mountains. And then they turned to look at the man, and he said, "Today there was rain in the mountains." And that's exactly what that's supposed to mean. It was a warning. It was a warning that they didn't understand because someone who was wiser than them, they thought he didn't know what he's talking about, but he was trying to warn them and say, "Hey, there's rain in the mountains. Don't go swimming in the lake." Of course, he didn't speak the native tongue. I mean, they didn't speak too well, so that's all they could really give from him, which was today there was rain in the mountains. And I've taken that story and I've transposed it onto the manosphere, the red pill, and I want to say maybe a year ago. Mind you, I didn't watch this video until recently, right? Because I didn't know too much of uh, this man called Jason Black. I wish I would have, because he was really what I was looking for. But a year ago, he pretty much made a video that would pretty much that phrase would paraphrase it. which is there's a lot of trouble going on in the manosphere. There's a lot of buffoons and buffoonery. There's a lot of fakery and frauds going on in the manosphere. Shout out to yours truly that of course popped up last year. Shout out to them, right? You remember them. But I wish I had to find out for myself because I found Mr. Black because I was still looking for what I was looking for. Because I had like I said it before, I actually I was never considered myself to be red pill. I never considered myself to be part of the manosphere. But I dove into let me give a bit of a story that relates to this, okay? So let's do some story time. So sometime I want to say last year, I'm not exactly sure when, but it was for at least a year. It might have been late 2020. I want to say probably late 2020. I had discovered the YouTube manosphere, red pill, whatever the hell you want to call it, right? Just looking up stuff because I was, looking through YouTube for videos, and then I wanted to look for videos on relationships. Because I was trying to understand some things, the dynamic between black men and women, et cetera, et cetera. I wanted to be like, okay, can I find something on this? You know, done a little Googling here and there, went find some stuff on YouTube. For some reason, whatever, O'Shea started popping up on my timeline. He was entertaining, got some laughs out of it because I don't really watch the media, and he was kind of a way where all the irrelevant shit that I don't watch myself, he would just kind of, make funny videos about the subjects or whatever, right? So I was like, okay, cool. Then Donovan Sharp popped up on my timeline. I pretty much brushed him off very quickly. I was like, yeah, yeah, no. Um, but I continued to, of course, I remained skeptical, and I kind of knew, like, what it was. But I watched some of his stuff, saw the interaction of the people in the chats and stuff like that. I actually look into the environment to see, okay, what's really going on here. Kevin Samuels popped up. Okay, he wasn't big yet at the time. He was saying some stuff that was very interesting and informative, and I was like, okay, that sounds about something like something I'd say, right? Not everything, of course. I want to say maybe 80% at best, right? Um, and I was like, okay, let me see where this goes. So start watching it. He blew up, and then after he blew up and stuff, I was like, okay, this is interesting. Now we're starting to get a lot more attention and everything, and a lot more people, et cetera, et cetera. But it wasn't until um, also, somewhere intertwined in that, MTR was also in there, right? Mediocre tutorials and reviews. And he seemed a lot more down to earth, right? Of course, he has his perspective on things. I mean, everybody does, right? But he seemed a lot more reasonable. So I jumped into his Discord, interacted with his Discord for about a year, a little bit over the year. And, I pretty much got what I needed out of that. It was there was some there was a bit of a buffooning going on in there. I'm not gonna lie. Um, and apparently, what I heard prior to me joining, there was also some buffooning going on the year prior to when I joined. Mostly due to red pill ragers and whatever. Of course, tweaking and whatnot, angry at the world and girls. But um, there were some people in there that were trying to understand things. Because like not everybody was raging or whatever. No, there were some decent, legit guys in there trying to understand things. I got, from my perspective, MTR was one of those guys. I got a bit worried when I saw him doing the things with Kevin Samuels because I already know Kevin Samuels. He's on that train for sure, sure. The money train exclusively. He's not really trying to. He said he might claim he's trying to help, but he's not really helping, and that's the whole point of this video, the framing, which is why I said today was rain in the mountains. If you're not aware, of course, O'Shea supposedly left the Manosphere, um, and now MTR is making a video talking about he left the Manosphere. Not really sure where that's coming from, whether or not they really did or didn't. Um, it kind of really doesn't matter because if they're going to continue to make content, I mean, maybe they're thinking they're going to make some whole little, maybe because there's like some ick within the manosphere, its reputation and things. Maybe they think they'll distance themselves from it and make their own pseudo manospheres elsewhere or something like that, or outside of it. It is what it is. But my thing is, if that were to happen, there would still be the problem of the bad information, the bad advice. And that is what I can't tolerate. I can't allow it to happen, you know? Because when I see that there are better ways of doing things, and then the people that are giving advice are doing it a certain way, and they have a certain type of audience, and I know that that's not the best way to do things, or that's not going to get a legit outcome. Um, yeah, there's a problem. Today there's rain in the mountains. I might use this emblem later on, make it a logo. Pop that up there, cause it's like a warning sign. I try to warn people best I can about things. I made that warning. I made that YouTube warning video, and of course, here comes popped up Mr. Real Estate same day. So apparently, about something completely different than what I was talking about. That my warning video was based off of. I actually wanted to make that warning video months ago, but I kind of wanted to just kind of observe and see how things go as I was doing what I was doing behind the scenes. And then inevitably, it got to the point where it's like, okay, I gotta at least address it in some way, shape, or form. Like I couldn't just. Of course, now mind you, when I was in that Discord with MTR's group, like I was literally arguing with some of those dudes in there about some of their viewpoints and things like that. Like I wasn't quiet, especially the people that that know me that were in there. I was actually a bit, I guess you could say, I was a bit of a nuisance for them. But I mean, let's just be real. I'm gonna be toxic and a bit of a nuisance for certain people. Masculinity can be toxic to the weak, and I don't. I'm not gonna say I don't respect the weak, but I don't. Now I'm not gonna disrespect people because I'm a reasonable person. I'm not gonna kick somebody when they're down. But if you say some things about me, I'm gonna be relentless, and that's what happened. Some things were said about me. I was verbally assaulted, and I was relentless to the point where the people didn't want to have any type of conversation with me because they knew I'd tear them apart. But to each his own. Lie to me, right? So, moving on from that, it's not like I was quiet about this. I would always ask questions. Actually, I was. I talked about this earlier. I was literally blocked. Well, not, I don't want to say blocked, but let's just be real. Lead attorney don't want nothing to do with me, apparently, for some reason. I'm not really sure. Maybe because we got to an argument or about something he didn't agree with me on. Like I said, everybody doesn't agree on everything. It is what it is. I have no hard feelings about it, but apparently he did because, you know, he doesn't want, skipping over super chats, which I did intentionally just to kind of see. I would send super chats just to see, okay, because I remember I sent a super chat months ago, and then I noticed he skipped over it, and then I sent a couple more, and I was like, did he really just skip over my super chat? Because I don't call into his program, whatever the hell you want to call it. I never have, never do. I think I tried during the whole thing with the Lapeef because I just wanted to get on there just because for the because Lapeef. I was used regularly on their show, and I was like, hey, I'll just send a shout out. Hey, sorry your thing got taken down for some BS, right? If it's going to be taken down, it should be taken down for something that you've done, not some troll, right? And yeah, he made it very clear, like, yeah, I wasn't gonna get on at all. Skipped over all my super chats, which I found that hilarious, but it confirmed my suspicions. So, I guess I'm blacklisted. I've been blacklisted for some months now. I don't feel no way about it because I don't really care. Like I said, I never really bothered to want to talk to those guys anyway. But there have been worries. Um, I've addressed, the red pill ragers, of course, in MTR's chat. Shout out to him. If he has left the manosphere, he didn't exactly say the reason why. He just said he had a hard day or something. I'm hoping, you know, maybe it was some BS that he found out about. Maybe I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. But he seemed more reasonable than the rest of them. I will say that. MTR from my first impression of him, he seemed a lot more reasonable than the rest of them. So it's actually a bit. It was a surprise when I saw him with the whole thing with Kevin Samuels. I was surprised then because he was kind of iffy about the Manosphere anyway. But now, like it is what it is. So today there was rain in the mountains. So what am I getting at here? Now within the Manosphere, there's been a bit of straw man arguments here and there. It's quite a bit of it. I mean, I don't watch everybody there. I do not know most of the people in that thing because apparently there's quite a few people, and I'm sorry, I don't watch everybody. I can't. I've watched the main ones, the ones that get the pull or whatever. You know, Lapeef, Kevin Samuels, maybe, and then that's most of it. And then the rest of it is like maybe a handful of episodes. Not even really the whole episodes, just like maybe a few minutes or hours of Fresh and Fit and Donovan Sharp and who else? Well, I've watched quite a few videos of O'Shea. I will say that. And yeah, I can't even like I don't watch but I think one of them is named Coach Greg Adams or something. Like I don't even like I'm aware of some of the other guys, but I don't yeah I don't watch them. Um, I've heard of them, but I might have maybe I've seen like a few minutes of them on somebody else's, but I'm not aware of them. But a lot of their stuff has been um, straw man arguments. It's pretty much been a reflection of what the extreme feminists have been doing on the opposite end of the spectrum, hating on guys, the swirlers and the black male haters, etc. Right? And I don't like buffoonery. I don't like the when logic's not there. I don't deal with that. I say I don't excuse me. I say I don't argue with females for a reason. Once logic is out of the question, I no longer have any interest in trying to exchange anything because it's not going to be worthwhile or reasonable. So I also will not allow the buffoonery to impact anything I'm doing. And when I can, I will be the boogeyman to address it because I do not like buffoonery at all. At all. That being said, today there was rain in the mountains. Thank you for watching. I hope you get something from this. You understand where I'm coming from. And till next time, people.
お前はもう死んでいる。